Hello, everyone, and welcome to the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. My name is Dusty, as always, the host, joined today by my good friend, Roberto Blake. If you don't know who Roberto is, I'm not going to read some bio. I'm just going to tell you who he is. Roberto is one of the most trusted YouTube educators on the planet. He has been a content creator now for a long, long time. He has a bunch of different baskets in the monetization side of things that we can definitely discuss, but more than anything, he has helped hundreds, if not thousands, of YouTube creators achieve their goals. And so, Roberto, it's good to have you on the podcast, my friend.
Thanks again for having me.
Absolutely. So give us a catch-up of what you've been up to over the past year. It's been a little less than a year. By the way, we're going to make this an annual thing, at least, where we catch up with Roberto, talk about what's going on with the YouTube state of things, and just kind of pick his brain in regards to creator economy. So what's been up with you?
So I've actually switched things up a little bit. And unlike most YouTubers that would be in my position, I'm actually not focusing on growing my channel nearly as much right now. I've been following the philosophy of what I've talked about before with being platform agnostic. So right now, I'm not as obsessed as someone would assume. Like someone would assume right now at 600,000 plus subscribers that I should be chasing a gold play button. I actually was debating that last year, and I've opted out of pursuing that for the following reason of one thing, and I don't want to go too down the rabbit hole on this, the invalid traffic issue on YouTube that still has yet to be resolved and fully addressed by the platform. And it's something that's been affecting me and other creators for over a year, I think now.
Yeah.
And I've been hit with the invalid traffic issue doing nothing differently than I've ever been doing, like more than 12 times on my main channel. And I've had several clients and several friends and colleagues that have been hit by this. I've seen creators lose 90% of their AdSense revenue because of the invalid traffic issue. And I'm not exaggerating that number either. It's something that we don't have any control over, but it's a reminder to me of the importance of being platform agnostic, owning control over your brand and your assets, diversifying your platforms, diversifying your income streams and methods there, and making sure that you have a strong relationship and reputation with people to where you're not reliant on only selling your reach, selling your reputation, selling your relatability, selling your capacity for revenue generation. I think is much more important than just selling your reach. Reach can be bought with ads, but also reach is something the platforms can giveth or taketh away. So I'm very much right now focused on my newsletter, the Creator Economy Insider. We have 13,000 people plus on that newsletter that we host with ConvertKit, growing every day. I have control of that. That email list goes with me no matter whether I use ConvertKit or not.
That's right.
Yep, there's several ways we're monetized on ConvertKit. I have sponsors for the email list. So again, something I own, something that's an asset that I control. ConvertKit lets us have ad revenue. So I get a little bit of ad revenue there. And more importantly, I use it to also market my own products and services. So it's one of my best revenue sources in terms of generation. It's one I actually control. So I've been focusing on that. One-on-one coaching with more creators, getting more creators to silver play buttons. We have several of my Awesome Creator Academy Pro Group members that have gotten silver play buttons now. Victoria, Ben, and Cassandra. So they do great channels. Victoria has the largest channel around the career development of medical coding, lucrative career field that a lot of people are moving into. Cassandra, becoming a farm girl. She's doing the gardening and homesteading niche. We helped get her to over 100,000 subscribers. She's at about 250,000 subscribers now. We also helped her plan her course launch and building out her stuff around that. And, Ben has a quiz show channel on YouTube. And, he recently got his silver play button to over 100,000. And, he's crushing it. So we have some great people that we're working with, me and my team, and we're focused on the mission of helping creators more. We're looking at obviously trying to do more with creator education in depth. You may have noticed that I went to live streaming 2 to 3 times a week instead of posting regular videos 2 to 3 times a week. Regular videos will get me more views. The live streams are helping more people.
So a lot that I could kind of tackle there. I certainly want to kind of break some of that down. When you talk about being platform agnostic. This is something I preach a lot. We are talking to YouTubers a lot of times, but sometimes they're over on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. The newsletter is a great way to do that. I recently launched a newsletter, now have over 1,000, going upwards to 2,000 now. I'm really excited about that. Something I should have done a long time ago. I have definitely seen the benefits of that. Also, it's one of the things I'm most proud of in regards to this podcast is that at the end of the day, I pay the audio host, but I own it, right? Like, this is my property, and the trust that I'm building here on the podcast has helped me grow the newsletter and then helped me grow the YouTube channel. So when people are getting into YouTube right now, and even trying to grow a channel, you don't even have to say just starting a YouTube channel. What are the things that you're telling them now that you weren't maybe even 3-4 years ago? What's different about the platform that you're trying to coach and that people listening to this can help them take their channel to the next level?
That real world social proof and status cuts through almost all noise. That's a big one. If you want attention, the biggest thing and the hardest thing for a new creator, a small creator is to stand out, to get noticed, to get attention. And attention is in itself incredibly powerful. I don't think it's everything, but it's pretty close at this point, at least as far as content creation is concerned. Nothing starts without getting and having their attention. In the real world and in content creation now, the simplest and most direct way to cut through the noise and say, pay attention to me instead of someone else, value what I have to say instead of someone else, is bringing real world social proof to the table, which is why young creators struggle. A lot of young creators struggle because they start out in gaming. They're not a pro gamer. I coach pro gamers. I coach people who are some of the top ranking in the world in Crash Royale, Brawl Stars, and compete competitively in Clash of Clans. Right. So I know that they're using their status and social proof in their rankings to be able to get more attention, because anybody can pick up these free to play games, but not everyone can be a world class gamer. Not everyone can be ranked. Not everyone can have awards and win tournaments and be like top 10 in their country. The creators who can have an advantage. So sometimes it's better to be very good at something. A lot of creators come to the platform. They don't know what they like. They don't even know what their passion is. They bloody well don't know what they're good at. But see, that's where someone like our friend Emily D. Baker, she has a credential that very few people have. She's a lawyer and she has an expertise. Therefore, her passion around pop culture and the drama of the courtroom with these celebrity lawsuits is actually not only wildly entertaining but informative, but she also has a way to stand out versus some Joe Schmo, or some T channel that has no expertise, has to look up what the law even is. No, she's an actual lawyer and she understands this, and she can make sure that you're educated and give you a depth and a perspective that nobody else in the world can. Even in entertainment, like Dr. Chris Rayner, who's a surgeon, who's a reaction channel. He brings being a surgeon to being a reaction channel, covering anime and telling you what the real world implications of these injuries would actually look like as a surgeon, and telling you how much damage is going to be done in an anime like, Baki Hama or Kenichi or anything like that. So there's expertise there, and there's a status and social proof that's like, hey, if I'm going to watch someone react to this, why not get, Dr. Chris Rayner? Like, why not watch him? Because it'll be different. No, who can duplicate that? Who's a surgeon who also likes anime? That's harder to duplicate. So there's these, combination aspects of bringing your expertise to something that might otherwise not seem obvious or practical, but can be incredibly, incredibly powerful, unique, and entertaining. Real world status and social proof. If you want Dr. Mike Diamonds, Dr. Mike Diamonds is one of my clients. We worked together. We did like 10 coaching calls. He got 1 million subscribers recently. He can back up all of his fitness and fat loss advice with science, because this whole thing is science-based weight loss. And the thing about it is, well, if you're going to take weight loss advice, having a doctor that's also been an award-winning bodybuilder, that's kind of a really hard social proof or credential to compete with. You can't duplicate it very easily. So if you're going to listen to somebody, why not listen to this guy?
So if people are listening to this right now and they're saying, well, I don't know what I'm great at. I do believe that direction is one of the hardest things for creators currently. I'm not sure what's going on with the shift of things, what's happening, but I've done a couple of coaching calls lately where the primary conversation, the entire call was just, hey, I'm not really sure if I should be doing this or that. And I have to tell them, like, listen, you got to find what you love and what you're great at, exactly what you just said. So what if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, hey, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a professional fitness guy or guru. What are you telling these people, the people who want to grow a channel, who don't quite know what that is yet?
I'd question why they want to grow a channel, because if you're not good at something, then it needs to be obsessed with something.
That's right. There it is. Obsession.
I obsessed with Star Wars. Can tell you almost anything. I dare somebody. I can tell you almost anything about the Star Wars universe. Now, I might not know as much about, I can't always name who this writer on the script with Lucas was, or who this actor was, but in universe, I can tell you anything about Star Wars. I can tell you anything about the Force. I can name 6 different planets that the Sith ruled over specifically and everything. I can, I can go very in depth on the nerdy, deep lore of Star Wars. I can get philosophical about it, and I know the games. I can tell you about Darth Kraya and the Sith Triumvirate. I can tell you about Emperor Vitiate. I'm like nerdy as hell, right? So I am someone who's like a deep dive, absolute Star Wars fan. If I were not inherently good or best in class and best in the world in something, I can use my deep knowledge and I could build a thematic based Star Wars channel around the perspective of something like that. And I can make it niche. I could focus on something like one of my clients, Eckerd's Ladder. He focused a lot on the military aspects of Star Wars and about the military units and the Imperial Navy specifically, and things like what would happen if Star Destroyers attack the Earth, what would happen with this versus. So he's very good, and he still goes into many of the lore things in canon and legends, but he focused a lot around the military aspect of that. Someone who's not a client of mine, Generation Tech, they do a great job with Star Wars, and they focus on military aspects, but they also focus on the idea of, hey, what if from another point of view, the Jedi weren't the good guys in here? So perspective and obsession in a niche topic that has a fan base. This doesn't necessarily work as well if there's not a large total addressable market, there's not a large group of people, if there's not a fandom around this, then this doesn't work nearly as well. So this works well around things that other people get obsessed about. There are obsessive people when it comes to Star Wars. There are people when it comes to anime, Pokemon. My friend Pat Flynn, Deep Pocket Monster, on the way to 1 million subscribers. Pat has been in business niche like me, plateaued at like 500, 600K on YouTube, kind of like in that same category that I'm in business development, content creation. He came it from the podcasting and public speaking angle versus me with the video content creation, social media angle. Relative number of subscribers, right? He has a much bigger, more successful podcast than any of us because he's the man like that. Smart Passive Income is his podcast. Despite literally turning thousands of people around the world into multimillionaires with smartpassiveincome.com and the podcast, despite being a New York Times bestselling author, the thing he will be known for and go down in history for is being a Pokemon YouTuber.
Yeah.
And he had no ability or expertise in Pokemon collecting 2 years ago during the pandemic when he started this with his kids as a hobby thing. Yeah. He had no expertise in Pokemon to speak of 2 years ago. Now he's one of the biggest, most successful Pokemon channels in the world, holds 2 Guinness Book World Records for live in-person Pokemon events through his Card Party, his event Card Party, which will do its 2nd annual probably this summer in Orlando. And so there's this thing that he really did not know anything about collecting Pokemon cards 2 years ago, and is one of the biggest, most successful, most viral channels in that entire niche without YouTube Shorts, in long form and storytelling. Yeah. And it's because of community. It's because of finding people who are obsessed and serving people who are obsessed. And he built an affinity and built a deep love and obsession for it himself over time. He didn't necessarily start there. So the thing is, one, doing things, trying things, experimenting, that can be important. But if you really just wanted to cut through the noise and you don't want to go on a 100 crappy videos journey like I usually advise, the answer is to find something that either you're obsessed with or something that other people are obsessed with that you at least won't get bored with, and there you won't at least come to despise those people in the niche. So I would find things like that.
Yeah, the obsession is what will lead to the talent, right? And the success you're going to have that you talked about at the top of the show of find something you're great at. If you're obsessing over something, you are going to have a tendency to become great. You know, the power of consistency. And I hear you talk about this a lot on X and other social platforms about just the power of, if you are outlasting the other people, which is what a lot of people don't understand, that power, a superpower of just like, hey, just from sheer numbers of I'm uploading on a weekly basis every single week for 5 years, you know, that's going to put you ahead of the game, right? I mean, I did that with my channel. I do technology tutorials, and basically people have taken my model. I've talked about this before, and they've basically scaled my model where I do one video a day. These people are doing 20, 30 how-to videos a day, and they're getting 11 million views in a month as opposed to, 3 or 4, which is what I get, right? So instead of 50,000 views daily like I get to 100,000, they may be getting, a million views a day. So understanding what you can really put your time in and devotion in and obsession in. And for me, it was helping creators and to help people get from where they are to get to where they want to be. And that's kind of, and podcasting, that's another one of my big things, and obsessing over that. Now, when it comes to just the technicalities of YouTube and the platform itself, how has it changed, and how do you foresee it changing in the next couple of, obviously AI is a big hot topic. We can talk about that if you'd like, but what would you say are going to be the things that people can lean into now that might put them ahead of the game a little bit?
The fundamentals of YouTube don't change. What changes is priorities in culture and attention. And then that's the perceived shift. When you feel a shift in the algorithm, there's a great disturbance in the force. We have a new enemy. You could destroy us. Yeah, that's my Emperor Palpatine for the listeners. I think I'm pretty good at it.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. Your feeble skills are no match for the powers of the YouTube algorithm. And now, young creator, your channel will die. And then there's goes the lightning. So yeah, so that's the Emperor. Now, I think I do a decent EA McDermott. But what I'll say about it is the fundamentals of YouTube on a technical level and from an algorithmic level don't change because the priorities of YouTube itself, priorities of the platform haven't changed. The platform, like any other business, wants to take away and siphon attention from a potential competitor, and it wants a monopoly on time. Time is the currency of YouTube, and it's the thing that it sells itself on to the advertisers that fund it. Therefore, the market share is around the attention that harnesses in terms of the view numbers it can report, but also the watch time numbers it can report to say, hey, we do more watch time hours than streaming, and more than Netflix and more than cable television. So the watch time is always YouTube's end game because that's what they market against their competitors. They market watch time versus Netflix, not users. They market watch time versus television, not users. They even market watch time versus other platforms like TikTok, not users, not downloads, none of that. Therefore, the reality is that watch time is the currency. And the other thing is there's only 24 hours in a day. All of these platforms and appliances, even television, are competing for a market share of all right, there's 24 hours in a day. This human being works 8 hours a day. Theoretically, there's 8 hours left of leisure for them in a day on average. So we're averaging that out to 50 hours a week of leisure. We want our cut. So between all of us platforms, all of us apps, all of us devices, what's the market share of a human being's attention that we can harness and cultivate? YouTube has the highest overall average out of everything in terms of the time that it steals from us out of a day, a week, a month, a year. It wins. It's disproportionately winning. So what does that all mean about this algorithm? It means aligning yourself with that victory is ultimately your answer. And the clock for watch time starts with a click. That's why click-through rates are something we look at. Click-through rate doesn't by itself decide the destiny of a video, but getting a click in general does. That's why the view count matters to a degree, but not necessarily the click-through rate, because click-through rate is also a derivative of the impressions, and you may or may not be in control of that because that is about YouTube's ability to identify what I, as a viewer, desire to be put in front of me, and then during the hours of the day, what I'm most likely to click on. So it's kind of almost like a dating profile. It's figuring out who I will click on versus who I swipe away on. Mm-hmm. So it's trying to determine my taste, my preferences, my priorities, and what the balance of probabilities of me choosing one thing versus another is. That's why when you look at click-through rate, you have to remember that you yourself saw a video come up in your feed 8 times and didn't decide to click on it. So when you're taking click-through rate personally, don't look at like a million people chose not to click on me. Remember that those people might have been given 5, 7, 8, 4 opportunities to click on you, and you can't know when or why, and you can't know what their other priority was. They might not have clicked on you not because you didn't make a good video or thumbnail. They might not click on you because right now they're trying to find the answer to something at work. And they need a video that's going to actually serve them the tutorial so they can get through the thing so their boss doesn't fire them so they can still have money in the bank and pay the mortgage. Like, you don't know what someone's priority is when they are choosing not to click on your video. That's why you shouldn't take it personally, and creators shouldn't take that as much to heart. But do focus on the people who did choose to watch your video. Then look at the retention rate and look at where they decide to leave a video, and then what percentage of them left early, what percentage of them stayed, what stayed to 50%, and what the percentage of the completion rate on the video is. Then look at things like average views per viewer and optimize your videos to say, I need you to go watch another video if you're optimizing for YouTube growth. If you're optimizing for growth, I'm not optimizing for growth. The best thing someone can do is go from my video to booking a coaching call with me, or buying a digital download packet with me, or buying my book, or buying a $9 product that we have, like our ChatGPT creator prompts or something. Like, that's the best thing someone could do. For me, I'm not optimizing for growth. If I was optimizing for growth, I'd be pushing people down a rabbit hole to get them to watch 2, 3 videos in a row from me. If I was optimizing for growth, I'd be back to posting daily videos for content creation specifically, monetizing and making money online, but also how to get your first brand deals, but also how to get your first clients as a freelancer, and teach people how to work with creators and get hired by creators. My content, 0 to 100,000 subscribers, I was helping freelancers get jobs and get clients. Today, the people they want to work for aren't necessarily companies or entrepreneurs. A lot of who they want to work for in some capacity are content creators. They want to work for and do design work for a best-selling author. They want to do the editing for a podcaster in personal finance. They want to do the video editing for somebody who has a podcast, but maybe also has a course so that they know they'll get paid on time. They want to do that. They want to do the graphic design for an esports org. They want to do it for someone. They want a skill-based labor situation for someone in content creation because they still want to be attached to the creator industry, but they may not have the talent or the time or resources to go full-time. I can help freelancers who are like, why can't I work with my favorite content creators? Or, hey, I want to get into doing video editing or thumbnails, or, hey, I want to start a video editing business, make 10 grand a month. It's like, okay, you don't even know how to get your first clients. You don't know how to pitch. You don't know how to do your portfolio. You don't know how to do this. Same thing for people trying to get their first brand deal. So I know what I can make. I know what would grow my channel. But right now, the dollar to effort ratio for me of making content is not necessarily as profitable or powerful as if I do a couple of different things. This is just me personally. One, making content for brands pays me better than making content for my own YouTube channel. So I do a lot of UGC brand partnerships so I don't have to sell my reach. I leverage my relatability to the problem. My reputation, and also my skills at converting and selling and revenue generation. So I use that more than my reach. The brand already has reach on their platform or can buy it with advertising. So I aligned myself to very good paying clients on the brand side, which I felt was more practical than trying to make it off AdSense, especially when invalid traffic is still out there and it's still something affecting mine and another channel. So you see, my point is, you have to decide, am I optimizing for growth? If so, I play YouTube's game. Get people to click, get people to watch all the way to the end, watch another video, keep watching videos. And I can do that across multiple formats. I can get them with live streaming and watching me for hours on hours, and then get them at the end of a live stream to go watch a video that I already made. You can get them with shorts. Don't try to push them from shorts to long form. Push them on a rabbit hole of 5 or 6 short form videos because they already want to watch short form videos. When they're ready to watch a live video and they've watched a live video, you're in their watch history. If you have a long form video that aligns with them, YouTube will promote that video to them when they're ready to watch long form. Don't try to get people to switch what format they want to watch a lot of the times. Long form viewers, push long form. like live stream viewers, either push them to another long form video for you because they already watched you for an hour. What's another 10 minutes? Or push them and raid a fellow channel and you guys raid each other back and forth. If it's short form, push them to another short. Get them binge watching because it's better to get them to watch 5 shorts and get 5 minutes out of them than to get them to a long form video that they click off of in 60 seconds anyway. That
Yeah.
hurts that video. So that's like, so YouTube doesn't inherently change in terms of its motives and what you need to do. Some of the systems might expand the scope of how you can do that. The culture might change what responds to the most, just like they're not responding to hyper edited ADHD content in the TikTok style anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's shifted so quickly. You know, when shorts came out, you know, or vertical video, that was the thing. And I think you're seeing a slight shift of that. Even though our attention spans are still what they are, I feel like people are consuming, you know, different types of content now, more long form than I think people even imagined going into this. Now, let's talk about live streaming for a minute, Roberto. That's something that you're big on. You talk about it a lot on social. What are you doing to optimize these streams? I love what you're doing because you're taking a live stream, you're basically creating that content 2, 3, 4 hours, right? And then you're converting it into a long form video that you optimize with title, description, things like that. And then you could even be piecing it out and putting it on social or podcast clips or shorter clips by using AI tools or even doing it yourself. So talk about the benefits of live streaming and why a creator should look into it possibly.
Sure. So in my case, something I'm doing is for all of my other platforms, I'm clipping pieces from my live stream and distributing them across other platforms. I'm using Opus Clip for that. I need to be a little bit more consistent and diligent about that. I'm being a little too picky about what clips I put out and schedule.
Yeah.
So instead of doing it daily, I'm getting it out a couple times a week, but the goal is to get it daily. Some platforms, the goal is to get it out 3 times a day if I can. And for some platforms, the goal will be like once a week. The best things for this for me are actually some of my interviews. I have one that I'm working on because I interviewed Jay Klaus. I interviewed Justin Moore. I have an editor that's going to get me back the one I did with Nathan Barry, CEO of ConvertKit. I'm going to be interviewing the CEO of Kajabi in person. I'm probably going to be doing the CEO of Licked remotely. And I already did remotely the CEO of AppSumo, Noah Kagan. Why am I bringing this up? It's not just so I get the opportunity to name drop. It's because I'm making a point that I have these people who themselves have credibility, social proof status, and audiences. I get to tag them in multiple platforms and then subtly algorithmically reach people who have awareness of them or are connected to them in their network. So now by posting these on X, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and so on, and then being able to tag these people that I have these interview-based collaborations with, I'm able to now tap into their audience. The next step for me for that is in these platforms, I also get to have links in a description or in the caption or something like that. Best thing for me is to offer free value and get them with my lead magnet onto my email list because now I own the relationship with this extra audience that I went through the trouble to reach. For me, it's not just about growing these platforms. It's about siphoning from these platforms to grow my own relationship-based platform. So I'm going to use the awareness platforms at scale. I'm going to use them for their reach and their scale, deliver value in terms of my reputation. Then through that reputation building, siphon them down to a relationship platform. And then from there, once I've now used traffic and I have this trust, we're in a position to where they're going to be comfortable to do a transaction. So that leads to revenue. So reach, reputation becomes relationship becomes revenue.
Yeah,
Traffic, trust, transaction.
The relationship to revenue is a thing that I try to talk about here a lot, is that, you know, finding whether it be ad revenue, coaching revenue, affiliate revenue, it's all starting with a relationship, with the trust that you're building. And it's one of the reasons why I love podcasting so much, is because of the long form nature of podcasting. People are listening to me. People have gone back and listened to hundreds of episodes that I've done and interviews that I've done. And so they feel like they know me. So when I do finally land them as a client for coaching or whatever it may be, they come at me in the introductory conversation and they say, I feel like I've known you forever. You know, we've built that that relationship, through the podcast, through the email newsletter, which I've decided to format mine in a more personal, down-to-earth way of just like, hey, you're getting a behind-the-scenes look of what it is to be a full-time creator, an entrepreneur, kind of solopreneur style of, hey, this is what I'm doing this week. This is what's happened. You know, my dogs just got fixed, right? And I had 2 dogs, and it was a crazy week. But you're also able to pitch in like, hey, I also interviewed this amazing person on the podcast, and I did 3 tutorials on my YouTube channel. I'm revamping my website, giving them behind the scenes. I have a guy that I've actually been consuming his content for a long time, and one of his strategies is that basically he live streams his whole life. Like he live streams what he does, and it's you see this on YouTube where people live stream, you know, the
IRL streaming,
studying, things like that.
Yeah,
people
we used to call this life casting back in the days of Justin TV.
That's right. That's way back before when it merged into Twitch and things like that. So the people love that. They love the behind. That's why they love this podcast, because they love getting a behind the scenes look of what it means to be a creator and the things that you go through. So I love that. I love that you talked about just converting it from the relationship and then build that trust and then get the revenue. Now, as far as the format and structure of YouTube, we all know what's happening with vertical video. We all know what's happening with TikTok. Where would you, if you're a YouTuber, a creator, a content creator on YouTube, we've talked about platform agnostic, going off platform, building an audience off of YouTube so you own it. I get that. We've definitely talked about that.
So it's a content first approach, by the way. It's an audience first and content. So it's audience first, but it's also content first in terms of I may be prioritizing putting this on YouTube, but I'm not making it for YouTube. I'm making it so that it's something good enough that if it's consumed anywhere, it has value.
And I think that's what people don't understand, is that you can talk about all these things about these high-paying coaching clients and the things that you're doing in your business, Roberto, but if you don't make the YouTube videos, if you don't record the podcast, if you don't do
then it
the
doesn't
news,
happen.
None of this works, right? So although you're not focusing on the growth mindset of a YouTube channel, you still are using the tool to get the end result. And I think that's what people have to understand, is figure out what your end result, what you want it to be, and your target audience and who that should be. So I want to talk about YouTube right now as a platform. Where would you put your focus? Like where would you, I mean, should people worry about tags? Should they worry about like all these dumb things that we talk about as educators on YouTube? And I get so tired of it. I'm almost so sick and tired. Me and Nick were talking about it at the end of last year of just like, hey, these same bullet points we talk about all the time. Where is the biggest ROI? Where should I be putting my time?
Ideas. But the reason we talk about technical things is because he who is faithful in little is faithful in much.
That's true.
It's about intentionality. So it's not that tags inherently do or don't matter. It's that the thoughtfulness and effort into knowing how to properly categorize and identify the features and aspects of your thing like any other good product. When we go to Amazon, would you tell an Amazon seller behind their product, or an Amazon, someone who wrote a book for Amazon, that their keywords and tags don't matter?
No.
I look at YouTube. Now, some people look at YouTube as art because that's how they're doing it. That's their expression. Some people look at it as they're a performer and they're an entertainer. And then they're the person who is a thought leader and an educator and wants to maybe influence somebody's profession or direction in life, or help them, guide them in some way. So that's an educator. So you have educators, you have entertainers, and then you have artists. But here's the thing. If you were an artist and your work was going to hang in a gallery, the gallerist still has to categorize and catalog your artwork. So they have to determine, okay, what year was this work painted? What's the name of this painting? What are you calling it? What was the medium? Did you use oil paints? Did you use acrylics, watercolor? Is this impressionist? Is this realist? Is it surrealist? What type of, let's get into the granular details of the art form. So these would be categorizations and labels that happen, correct? And that's even with traditional art. And so, all right, so we would say that matters. With a physical, tangible product, we would go, okay, this thing is an electronic. This thing has this much weight and size, and that's going to be in the Amazon listing, and that's going to be there. Batteries not included. That's in there. Okay. Fragile. There's all these things that we do with categorization and labeling. Hey, it's a Sony product. It's a mirrorless style camera. It has 2 SD card slots. It requires this type of battery. There's all of these labeling mechanisms and this categorization schema to it. If we watched a film on Netflix, and we were looking for it, we want to know that's from Tarantino. We want to know that's one of his 90s works. We want to know whether Uma Thurman is in it or not, or Michael Madsen and so on. So we need all this labeling. In a system where 5,000 hours of video is uploaded per minute to YouTube, I still believe that on some level, AI is getting fantastic, but on some level, I believe that even if it's slightly, that categorization can matter.
Mhm.
I would argue the most important thing is your ideas, how that idea translates to a title, how that idea translates to a thumbnail, whether that topic has a large total addressable market or a very narrow and specific market. I would say that your transcript matters. If I was going to say anything matters, it's topic, title, thumbnail, timing, transcript, maybe not always in that order. Maybe not always in that order, but I would say those things matter most. So I would say coming up with a good idea, understanding the topic, who's the audience avatar, writing a script that has keywords baked in that are relevant to the topics and things and ideas that the people you're watching care about and what their vernacular, what their priorities are, what the buzzwords are that are going to trigger them, all of those things. I would say, okay, your idea generation, being able to do blue sky ideation and blue ocean strategy. You would want to do those things. Then you want to be an impeccable script writer and really prove that you understand your audience in the script. If you're not doing a script, then the structure of your outline and what you're prioritizing and how you're delivering it. Then I would say that the communication of your brilliance has to then execute properly and be communicated down to earth in a proper title and in a proper thumbnail that convey those ideas well. Because you can be the best person in the world. You have the best edited video. You have the greatest ideas. But how you show up matters. Presentation isn't everything. It's the only thing. That's a Roberto Blake quote, ripped from Vince Lombardi. You know, he said winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. I say presentation isn't everything. It's the only thing. So that's mine. You can't have it. But again, the ability to communicate your ideas effectively and efficiently is the most important thing in the world after having a good idea. A good idea poorly executed accomplishes nothing. That's another Roberto Blake one. You can't have it. So then execution is everything. And then once you get past getting that initial click, by the way, that decides the view, it's all a retention game. Retention is down to production, performance, and personality. Production, performance, and personality. Hey, am I getting good video, good audio, good lighting? Because if I'm not, it's a distraction. Hey, what about the personality? The personality is the style, structure, storytelling, and that's a lot communicated in the script writing and in the editing, and then also in the choices of the overall visual aesthetic as well, and the settings and layout and all of those things, and on stylescape, everything, all those decisions, and the storyboard. And then you have the performance. The performance is down to the confidence with which you communicate, the clarity with which you communicate, and then the connection you make emotionally to the viewer or consumer. So I like succinctly have a system for breaking this all down, and it's all based in behavioral psychology. Like, that's it. This is just human behavior, 101. And that's what YouTube is. It's another expression and measurement of human behavior. What am I interested in? That gets my click. What holds my capacity for attention? That gets my time. And then what delivered value to me gets my loyalty. And that's what YouTube is.
Yeah, that's great. That's powerful. The way that you broke it down, because it really is that. I mean, you said a lot there, but it's really simple if you think about it. As far as the ideation of the video idea of, you talk about Pat Flynn earlier and what he's doing with Deep Pocket Monster. It's funny, he's now done these style videos that are being copy and pasted, right, for other Pokemon creators who have been in the game for way longer than him, because he's such a good storyteller. But he put time into it. He put time into it, and his presentation is impeccable. The way that
he's a world-class public speaker.
He's a world-class public speaker, right? And I think that's one of the things that goes so unnoticed for creators, is that they think that, oh, well, just because I have good information and I have good this and good that, well, you're getting on camera and you're looking like you'd rather be anywhere but there. So it's understanding that people do stay around and stick around for you and who you are, and the way you're presenting yourself, like you said about showing up, is important. I want to close with this question, because I think you're going to have a decent amount to say on this one. I want to know what you're using AI tool wise, and what are some recommendations that you have for creators? Because I know you pretty well just from consuming your content before I knew you personally. And I'll say this about you: you like to be on the cut, you like to be ahead of things as opposed to behind
Cutting
things.
edge, bleeding
And
edge. Yeah.
you're not scared of AI. You want to leaning
No.
in. You're like me. You want to lean into it. But I also think that I've heard you say, as I have many times, that I like to use AI as a jumping or launching off point as opposed to like the answer. I don't think AI is the answer yet. I think that right now it's a good starting point. It's a good place to kind of help do things and optimize some certain workflow things. So I'm going to give the floor to you. Give us some recommendations and what are you using?
I wouldn't even say it necessarily has to be a starting point. I actually believe that all it is a performance enhancing tool.
There we go.
So the thing is, AI works when you're already smart and when you're already a good communicator. AI works, especially text-based AI. Text-based AI works in proportion, which means text-based AI is ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Midjourney, DALL-E 3. That's text to image, text to even Runway. So it's all text to image, text to text, text to video, even text to audio. That only works for maximum ability in the hands of someone who's already a good communicator, someone who's already a good writer, someone who's already got a command of language and a robust vocabulary. That tool in the hands of someone lacking those things can get them to slightly above average or finally help them be mediocre. But
Yeah.
if someone already was average to above average at that or is already exceptional at that, they now become a god. That's the
Yeah.
difference. The power scaling.
Yep.
It's power scaling. AI can only enhance your base stat performance, meaning that if you are already bad at something, AI will take you from bad to being mediocre or kind of good. But if you are a good, it can take you to great. And if you are a great, it can take you to being extraordinary and exceptional because all it is a force multiplier. That's why even when using something that's a non-AI tool that is now about speed or scale, if you already make great, beautiful content that's well produced, and then you run it through AI curation, if you're a great interviewer and you have beautiful camera gear and you have the camera angles and everything like that, what do you think is better? Something like that running through Opus Clip or somebody with the bare bones shooting out of a potato, bad audio? What do you think scales more? Something great and well made going through that and then saying, okay, I can literally now get 30 videos out of this beautiful, well shot interview or this beautiful talking head video or this stage presentation at one of the greatest venues in the world. Getting 30 clips of that, or are we just going to go with 30 clips of your bare bones gameplay with bad audio? Which one of those scales?
Right. The starting point matters. The start
Yes.
where what you have basis, what your base is important. And I am not scared of AI. I do voiceover work and I've lost half my work to it and I'm still not afraid of it because I've had many of those clients come back to me after they've used AI and said, I miss your emotion. I miss the interaction with you. I miss it. So I'm not afraid of it. I want to lean into it. I want to learn it. So what are some
Customer
of the
service
tools?
beats AI.
100%. Every day it does. Every day. So what are some tools that you like to use?
So it depends on everything you're doing from a workflow standpoint. One thing I will tell you is you don't want to try to generate your entire script in ChatGPT.
No.
It's actually better used if one, especially with the newest version, one, if you give it context in memory so that always has these things in the back of its mind when it's dealing with you specifically, which means now you will always have unique outputs. So that's a big part. The other thing is you should use it to refine aspects of your overall script, which means you should write the original script. Now, what it could help with a generative standpoint is it can help you with an outline for your initial concept or idea.
Yeah.
So you actually shouldn't necessarily use it purely for coming up with a good idea. You should be able to understand your audience well enough to come up with a good idea. Then you can say, okay, but I want to refine that idea. Then you can have it help with that and refine it. For me, I actually have a crazy thing that I do. I argue with ChatGPT every day to make myself smarter and to test my knowledge to say, am I as smart about the things that I believe I am? And can I have a safe intellectual sparring partner in this to where I won't have to worry about getting canceled on Twitter?
That's
So
great.
so I use ChatGPT to make myself smarter and to test my ideas and my theories and to test my own knowledge of my ability to explain, articulate, or combat criticism, even, or even to judge, is this valid criticism that I need to respond to, or is this criticism that isn't valid or factual that I need to ignore? And then I have it help me with, okay, create protocols and rules for me to know what criticism is good and what criticisms to ignore. If I'm in my feelings and I can't do that, let me just give it to the robot. Like, so let me do that. I'll also do things with ChatGPT where, from a practicality standpoint, now I can have it analyze my YouTube videos and generate the timestamps for my long form videos. Yesterday, I went back and I did 3 months of timestamps in 45 minutes.
Yeah. So give me, like, I'm curious
And that's
because
just one tool.
yeah, that's just one tool. We could probably have a whole episode about this, and maybe you'd be interested in that.
I'll come back for an
I,
AI tools episode.
I think that explain that. So you're telling Chat. Let's say we have this interview right now, and I'm going to post it on the podcast channel, which I am, and I want to do timestamps. So instead of me having to rewatch, go through, fine tooth comb, you just give it to Chat GPT, and then it comes back and tells you exactly the timestamps.
I'll explain you more or less how to write this prompt.
Do it.
I'm not looking at him just off the top of my head. The way that
Mm-hmm.
you would write this prompt, and why I know people can't just be a prompt engineer, they're not a technical writer or a good communicator. And this is why I made a product for this, is the way I would write this prompt would be, I need you to be my transcriptionist, and I need accurate timestamps for the following YouTube video. And then I paste the link, and I said, the rules I need for these timestamps is, I need accurate timestamps that can be in intervals of 3, 5, or 8 minutes if there is a tangent or part of the video that merits it. I need complete timestamps for the entire duration of the video, and the video is insert duration here. And I need it to be output in this format. And then I give it the format that I want. So I give it
the formatting is what frustrates me sometimes, right? Because I have a system that I put in the Notion that I haven't published anywhere, but I kind of have my Notion where I prompt for every video that I do. And one of the prompts is, okay, now provide me with the best keywords for this video. And I actually have to get the keywords and key phrases given to me, and then I have to respond back, okay, now give them to me separated by commas, right? Like, the formatting is so frustrating sometimes because it gives me too many in bullets.
So I'll tell you how to deal with this. Part of what I just did is the assignment or creative brief that I would give you if you were a human being. I don't treat ChatGPT like a machine. I treat it like a fractional employee. I treat it like a remote worker that I need to give precise information, who has to go off of these things sight unseen. And it's my responsibility. It's my responsibility to train it in the way that I want it to serve me. It's my responsibility to train an employee to be successful. So the thing is, I can't have them guess, or I shouldn't have them go look up what's the right YouTube format for timestamps. I should provide a staff member with that information. So I'm going to provide my AI tools with exactly how I want it, so they can meet my expectations and so they can succeed. And I need to do that. I do that with my human team. So, like, the way that I would handle communicating instructions to a remote worker, I need to be as thorough and as diligent with that, and not abuse the AI and expect it to guess and then be mad when it comes back with crap.
And that's the thing. People want AI to be a cheat sheet, right? They want it to be a get-rich-quick scheme, which it's not what it is. That's why so many AI channels blew up on YouTube, talking about, like, how to do all these designs and print on demand and things like that with AI. And yeah, there's a small percentage of people who are going to get rich doing that stuff. But, like, for the most part, AI, you really have to put the time into it, is really what you're going to get out of it. So I love that. I know you were using Opus. I've worked with Opus, and I'm currently working with Opus. A great tool there.
Same.
Midjourney. Do you ever use Midjourney or image stuff? Yeah, I love Midjourney.
Yes, but with Midjourney and even with DALL-E 3, the thing is, someone who's already an artist or designer would get the most use out of it. Artists shouldn't even be threatened by this, like, and so neither should be designers. I wasted tens of hours per client before, sometimes just with the client dealing with ideation issues with, I'll know it when I see it. I'll know it when I see it. So they waste your time with ideation. You can use this, and now all those clients from hell, you send them to heaven. Yeah, you send all your clients from hell, you send them to heaven.
You're able to give them like 8, 20, ideas for a logo, right? And then you, the artist, then you go do it. Then you go optimize on what the feedback they give you from all the work you didn't have to do.
Exactly.
So,
Because they're not going to be able and not capable themselves as a designer to go and get around this without you, let alone get it now into vector format and do all these things. They are not going to be able to, outdo you on this. They would have to already have your skill set and understanding of the technology and software to be
right.
able to do that, in which case they wouldn't be hiring you.
Yeah, another one I like is Descript. I do some podcast production on a high level for some people, and Descript has made my life so easy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy the ability you can put a video in there and it removes the filler words, removes the long pauses. You can search
Do you know what
the
does that now?
what's that?
Adobe does that. Premiere Pro does that now
Oh,
too.
see, I have to look into that. Everything. The tool that I use for
I think DaVinci now does too.
DaVinci does too. I use a tool called Grammarly and have been using it for 7 or 8 years. They've actually sponsored my channel. Used to sponsor the podcast.
Nice.
I use that to. I've basically called that my spell check on steroids, right? And so I do all my writing in kind of the Grammarly app, and then I kind of let it help me do that. And they've got some Notion, another one of the tools that I use regularly,
Yes.
also has some really cool AI. So I think we're gonna pause here because I believe that I'd like to do a longer form episode with you where we just open it up about AI, artificial intelligence.
I would love to. I've got tools for writing.
Yeah.
I've got tools for writing and things that help with that. I got tools for the side when it comes to some of the marketing aspects of this, repurposing, obviously,
Yeah.
Image creation and generation, the AI video tools and plugins
Sure.
as well. So we can get into that, like Firecut and Pod. God, what was it? Podcut.
Yeah, I've
I want to say
dabbled with that one. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
what we call a tease in the business, folks.
That one is a little bit of a tease, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stuff like that. There's some great AI tools, and there's a lot of great AI integrations with some of the native apps here as well, like Adobe. I love what I saw the preview when I was at NAB.
I saw
When I was
that.
when I was at NAB show, what they premiered with Adobe Premiere and bringing Firefly directly into that for things you could do with video. It was mind blowing.
It's
That's
going to
going
be
to be
interesting. Yeah.
it's going to be a brave
interesting.
new world.
The people who are on the edge and know what they're doing and learn how to prompt and there's so much free information out there right now that can help you be a better prompter. I know you have a product. I'll definitely link that in the show notes of this episode. But Roberto, you have been amazing. We're going to do this again, and I'm going to be messaging you later this week, if not next week, and we're going to set something up to do the AI call. Thanks again for being a guest on the podcast, for being a recurring guest on the podcast now. Again, robertoblake.com, Roberto Blake on YouTube. You'll have all of his pertinent links will be in the show notes. Anything you want to share as we close?
Yeah, if you happen to be on YouTube and find me at Roberto Blake, I'm doing live streams usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, roughly. We do monetization Mondays, so we're talking about how to scale and grow the business side of content creation. Workshop Wednesdays when we get super practical, more hands-on demo, and then FAQ Fridays where we get into analytics, and I also answer any questions you have about strategy, growth, and ideation. And for all of my products, you can check out www.awesomecreatoracademy.com. And that's where you can work with me or join the pro group or buy one of our standalone products.
All right. Well, guys, thank you again for listening. And we're going to go ahead and cue the outro.